and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, every January 15th is celebrated as Armed Forces and Remembrance Day in honor of the gallant officers and men protecting the nation's territorial waters, air and land. Now, the Nigerian Army fought the Civil War and has been a force to reckon with in regional peacekeeping in places like Sierra Leone, Liberia and Sudan. The armed forces have continued to record feats in security matters, evident with the degrading of insurgency in the northeast and the determined commitment to end insurgency. Now, President Buhari has always paid tribute to the men and women of the armed forces and other law enforcement agencies working to keep the country safe and those who have paid the supreme sacrifice. There have been commendations for the armed forces in matters of civil-military relationship, which has gone a long way in building trust and intelligence gathering. However, there have also been accusations of the military using excessive force sometimes in dealings with the civil populace and of breaching the rules of engagement in tackling insecurity. But there is also a question: how supportive of the military is the citizenry? The armed forces and national security is the thrust tonight. But first, let's get to see this report by Ismail Musa.
The armed forces that comprise the Army, Navy and Air Force is vested with the mandate of securing Nigeria's territorial integrity against external aggressions. With the current multidimensional internal security challenges like terrorism, militancy, armed bandits, ethno-religious crisis, kidnapping, cultism, farmers-herders clashes, and violent separatist movement, the armed forces is virtually found in all states of the Federation.
Military, particularly the Army, is doing much more than it should do, as constitutionally delegated to do. So we need people should really work in their areas of designation where you are asked to function. The military or the army shouldn't be seen in every place. All the states do police job, do immigration job, do all sorts of jobs. No, that's not it. That's not what the Constitution provides.
In spite of cumulative pressure on the armed forces, deflating equipment and manpower as a result of threats fueled by both internal and external factors, the fighting formations have successfully proved their worth through diligent prosecution of the various security challenges.
The Nigerian armed forces were using the third-generation warfare to fight a fourth-generation warfare. And when the military understood it and started with the fourth-generation warfare, you have seen the difference. So what they have to do now is to build on that.
In the northeast, a lot of mileage have been covered. Successes have been recorded and is still being recorded.
As Nigeria marks the 2019 Remembrance Day, what should be the focus of the federal government and the armed forces in the ongoing drive to further secure the nation?
1, adequate equipment. Number 2, motivation. Number 3, morale. Number 4, training. And of course, detailed planning, good intelligence.
A country of almost 200 million people, there is need to increase our military strength. You can't be a great nation without a strong military power. For me, I recommend 1 million, man army for Nigeria. And we have the youths that are there. We should absorb them and train them in the military service and also use them even well in the military. In terms of their budgeting, I also advise that the military budget should be on first line charge. There's need to separate politics from security. I mean, deployment of the military or other security is a reactive measure. Our style of politics should be one of the factors that will strengthen our security well-being.
It is expected that Nigerians at both public and private sector should always extend the hands of fellowship to the families of the gallant fallen heroes so that their efforts will not be in vain. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Major General Lucky Irabo. He is Chief of Defense Training and Operations. Thanks for being with us here tonight.
Thank you very much, Sir. Thank you, Bias.
Let me also welcome Air Vice Marshal Kingsley Lar. He's Chief of Administration, Headquarters, Nigerian Air Force. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians.
We are joined tonight by Major General Ahmed Tijani Jibrin, a former Director of Military Intelligence. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, sir.
And let me also welcome Brigadier General Jones Akbar. He's the National Chairman, Nigerian Legion. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and tonight we're joined by a regular contributor to current affairs programs on NTA, is a professor of criminology and sociology of law at the University of Jos, Tanibi Alimika. Thanks for being here, Prof.
Thank you for having me.
Right. As we always do, we never stop doing this. At the start of this program, we acquaint you with the procedure, we refresh your minds on how this program should go. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion. The various platforms will be on your screens. We advise you take advantage of that. And we always say this, for those who will be phoning in tonight, do us a favor. When your call gets through, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume. That's the best way to avoid the hurlback or the echo, if you like. And the best way also to know your call has been passed through to the studio is you'll see your name appear on screen. Once your name has been put on screen, you see your name, that tells you your call is through to the studio. So go right ahead with a question or comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings, and we advise you keep it short and straight to the point so others can also get on the platform. Welcome to Tuesday Live. Tonight, it's about the military, security, and of course, it's the Armed Forces and Remembrance Day. And so we start off with Major General Lucky Irabo and say, look, this is your day. What does it symbolize to the soldier? What does it symbolize to the nation?
Thank you very much for that question. You're very right. As a soldier, this is our day. And this is my day. This is a day for my colleagues. We feel proud that the nation has set aside a day such as this to focus on the armed forces, but more importantly, on our colleagues who have paid the supreme price. So for me, I feel very proud to have been the point of focus by the entire nation. And I think that is what in our military parlance call a morale booster. So I think it's something that's worthwhile, and I want to encourage it.
All right. You feel fulfilled working for your nation, serving your nation at this level?
Of course, I feel very fulfilled. I'm very proud to have contributed, to be contributing to national development, especially in the security sector. Over the last 3 decades, I've been involved in it. If I've not been fulfilled, of course, I would have been out of it before now. So that I'm still in it tells you that I'm very fulfilled, and I feel very proud, especially when there are feedbacks, just like a day such as this, where the entire nation is focusing on the armed forces, and tells that there is an appreciation of the kind of contribution we're making to nationhood. So I feel very fulfilled.
All right, let's put the same question to Air Vice Marshal Lara and say, yes, the significance of this day symbolizes to you, to the nation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, like you rightly said, it's the Armed Forces and Remembrance Day celebrations. What it means is that those who are still in service are in focus, and those who have paid the supreme price and those who have also disengaged are also in focus. So you could say that it is a celebration that is killing several birds with one stone. We, at this particular point in time, the country is going through some critical security challenges. So the armed forces have been at the forefront of containing these challenges. So it will be very appropriate to set aside a day to recognize the contributions of the armed forces throughout the history of our country, particularly those that fought in the First and Second World War, the Civil War, and other internal security operations that we've had over the years. So I feel proud that the country has set aside a day to recognize my contribution and the contributions of those that have gone before us, and also recognize the families, the loved ones of those who have paid the supreme price and are no longer here to bask in the recognition that the country has given to the armed forces on this special day. So I think it's something worth celebrating, particularly, like I said, that we are in a time when the military is at the forefront of trying to bring peace to all the parts of the country. So when you celebrate a man, he feels appreciated. And of course, he redoubles his efforts to give more, much more than he had in the past, to also appreciate the recognition that the country has given to him.
All right, there are three categories: those who have stayed in service, those who have disengaged, those who have paid the supreme price. But for you, you fall into the category of those who've disengaged. As they say, the fire is still in it, it still burns in you.
Very well, because they say once a soldier, always a soldier. We have gone through the mill, we have seen it all, and we have to bow out when it was time. So I feel highly fulfilled within the period I served in the military, and I feel proud that the country has set aside a date. We should remember that this date used to be 11 November, when the Commonwealth was, countries were celebrating it. Because of some historical developments, the country decided to change it to 15th January, when the end of the Civil War was signaled. So in commemoration of that, it was changed. So for us retired officers, we always reflect the days we are in service. And has been highlighted, when the armed forces in the forefront now, we always feel involved. We talk to our colleagues, we listen to the news, we try to contribute in the best way possible whenever we are called upon to do so. And we are being called upon to do so from time to time. So we feel part and parcel of the armed forces. I do not see retirement as a period when I should forget about the service I have rendered for over 35 years. So we are still very much involved with the military, and we are still very proud of the military. We are very proud of the job they are doing to protect the national security. There are setbacks, but the military is bouncing back to give good account of itself in regaining the initiative. So as retired officer, I feel fulfilled, and I'm very proud to associate myself all the time with the armed forces. And this day, I feel it is also my day.
All right. Well, Brigadier General Jones Akpa, you are the representative of the Nigerian Legion. And yes, this is a day of reflection for you.
Yes.
Tell us about the symbolism and its significance.
Thank you very much. A lot have been said, and I cannot agree more with them. We are all colleagues. Even before we came in here, we had the normal rapporteur among the people who have served in the system. We can never be more proud than doing what we did and handing over the baton to those who are coming. And those ones who have come in have also handed over the baton to those who are coming. And the tradition continues. We feel fulfilled. We just joked about how some of us got there. We didn't even know why we got there. The age was 18. A lot were younger than 18. Some had to even wear canvas or sneakers inside the boot. That's how it was. We still reflect on that, and we feel happy that we joined. Many of us had challenges. You thought of disappearing because you didn't, what the hell, where did I get myself into this? But you are there. You have many things to keep you back. So what will you tell your people? Your name came out in the newspaper, national newspaper, that you were selected for this profession. What will you go and tell them? They wrote to congratulate you. Then suddenly you are back home with tails between your legs. You can't do that. Some of those things motivated us to remain. Then those of us who had other colleagues who went straight to the university, if you drop now, you can't be their mate again. They'll be your boss, your seniors. So we feel happy, we feel fulfilled, we are satisfied, and we thank God that we got this job. It is our day, like General A.T. Jibrin said, in other countries on 11th. Our own peculiar case is 15th of January every year. And we look forward to it. We also look forward to the nation accepting us, that we and them, we are all the same. We are the same. We are in this job together. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Prof, it's just you and me who are different tonight. So, how should a nation look at the men and women who step forward and say, we will gladly lay down our lives for the nation?
I think you put it very right, that where people enlist in a profession in which death is not an accident, the probability of death is not an accident, it's actually part, most likely probable job description. I think they deserve to be appreciated. So I think a day like this provides us two levels of appreciation. One, to appreciate that without security, we can't have development. Without security, we can't have whatever it means to reach our individual potential, national potential, and to that extent, it's a reminder. It's like when you are not sick, you do not appreciate health. It is when you are sick that you begin to appreciate days that were healthy and took it for granted. I think a day like this reminds us not to take security for granted and to develop the necessary consciousness and support for those who have chosen to protect us. I think that's the first appreciation that I think a day like this to us offers us opportunity. The second one is also to appreciate those who have chosen to do this on our behalf, because that's a collective responsibility we have to ensure our nation is secure, is peaceful, but of course we do not all do it at the same scale, even devotion. So some people have come forward to do this on our behalf, and I think we need to recognize that indeed they are doing a wonderful job. And it's not just in Nigeria, in many countries. For example, one of the things you recognize in America is the presence of military symbol in their national life. You probably can't go to any major city without seeing a veteran hospital. Everywhere you go, there is this symbol. And I think it is that kind of citizen appreciation of the role of the military that we need to develop. And on this kind of the day, I think it just offers us an annual, lest we forget. I think the Armed Forces and Remembrance Day say, lest we forget, there are people who are sacrificing or indeed have sacrificed, including losing their lives. And of course, you and I are different, but we're not totally different. We have relatives, we have brothers, we have who also are in this business. Some of them we have lost. The scar is on us. If they are not recognized, we also bear the resentment of ungrateful country for our losses. So I think it's not just the military versus us. I think we are extension of each other.
Well, the military has, and Nigeria's history has been closely interwoven over the years, but now more than ever, because of the peculiar challenges Nigeria has been facing in the last few years, and so the military has been brought to the forefront again and been subjected to the scrutiny by not just the citizens, but also by the international community. And this is where we go next, General Lucky Rabo, and say, how had the military discharged themselves, particularly in these trying times of security challenges?
Thank you very much for that question. You're right. The challenges we face currently, and of course in the recent past, has of course have presented the military in a form that perhaps give different interpretations depending on the position that one gives to it. But for us in the military, for me as a soldier who has also been part of it all, I believe that we have done creditably. The issue is a good number of the citizenry, and of course those who are outside the country, view us without actually, I mean, in a manner that does not take into consideration some of the peculiar challenges that we face as a nation, and of course as a military. The Nigerian environment cannot be compared to other environments. We live in a very unique environment. And so the issues which, of course, during the background report that was given, you had it all. That our environment poses some challenges to the military that has now brought us to, if you like, to say the least, sometimes what we see to be public ridicule, which is quite unfortunate. But I must also admit that there are a few cases where some of those misplaced interpretations may have been led to our historical past. Historical past in the sense that you find that at some point in our history, the military has been involved in political leadership. And so because we've been involved in political leadership, a good number of citizens more or less interpret the involvement of the military in politics in the past by more or less institutionalizing such involvement in politics. What some individuals, some of our colleagues who have passed, even though of course they may have acted given the circumstances at the time, but of course the judgment of a few others tend to pitch the entire structure, that is the military structure, against the rest of the society, which currently is has not actually presented us in good taste. For me, my assessment is that those perceptions are wrong. It does not speak to what the military stands for. Of course, there may be a few individuals who may have acted wrongly, but that does not imply that that speaks to the character of the military itself. So, by and large, I would say that the challenges that the military faces currently are challenges that we're working around the clock to see that we overcome, so that the perception that the public have of us not only will it change, but of course they will begin to have a better perception as we confront the challenges and work to meet up what the responsibilities are as enshrined in the Constitution.
All right, we'll come to some of the issues we've raised now. But AVM Lar, what's the significant difference between, the soldier today, the military man of today, and in the early days of Nigeria's sovereignty? What's the marked difference?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, because the society, of course, there's a popular adage that says that the only constant thing in life is change. The military is part of the larger society. So will I call them attributes, or will I call them the kind of foundation that we had those days? There were children were brought up by the community. And you had people who came to serve their country, not because they were looking for higher pay or for the perks of office, but just to render service. But we have a society that has so evolved now. Before we came in here, we were discussing outside, and one of the panelists was telling us his experience, where your children are not looking at coming to lay their lives down for the country. They are looking at coming to drive a big car and sit in a big office. And these are things that society itself, like I said, has evolved. So we have a situation where we have to cope with the fast pace of development and also try to be patriotic at the same time. So I think that in those good old days, people came purely because they wanted to serve their country. But today you have sometimes people come because there's no job, nothing else to do. They want to find somewhere they can earn some income. But that is not to say that there aren't still those who are coming into the military because they want to serve their country. So it's for us to be able to, and that's the good thing with the military, we have at every stage there are checks and balances where those who are not willing to serve, most times before they get very far, they find their way out, while those who want to serve remain to actually render the service. So I think it's a crisis of development, if I may use that word. Mm-hmm. Advancements in society have led to a situation where everybody is a reporter. So you have a lot of narratives that are not based on any facts. You read a story and you begin to share it without really going into trying to find out what the true position of what you are sharing is. And these are hazards that we must accept, because you cannot separate the military from the society. However, we try our best to remain professional, to do our job as provided for in the Constitution, to be able to discharge the responsibilities that the nation and the people of Nigeria have placed upon us.
Speaking of change, General Jibrin, how well has the military coped with the evolving dynamics of the Nigerian society?
Yes. Well, it's very straightforward, because the military is part and parcel of the centrifugal forces of the society. Whatever happens in the society, you will see reflection, and has been highlighted by Lar. You see clearly now there are a lot of young officers and soldiers who came to the military purely maybe because of the attraction of the uniform, maybe because they want to impress some people. I was registrar of Nigerian Defense Academy. One time we were interviewing a candidate. He told us he joined the military because he's trying to woo a girl, him and one guy. And that he believed that by the time he wears this cadet uniform, the girl will automatically go to him. So you can see the values have changed. Right. So, but the military is a highly dynamic organization because there are regimentation. There are rigid rules and regulations guiding everything. So whatever change that comes in the society, the military also adjusts to absorb it. I went to the academy, I did 3 years, I got NDAC, Nigerian's Academy Certificate of Education, which is equivalent of A-levels. It was when I came out, I went to the university, I read for my degree. But because society has changed, the military also changed, and now the NDA is a degree awarding institution to cope with the requirement of graduates in the military. Similarly, if you look at the military, new establishments are coming up. The Army recently launched a cyber command. These are things that you will not hear about. There is a space command, the military space command. These are all effort by the military to say, okay, there are changes are coming, we're also there. Recently, you've had the Chief of Army launch what you call Special Forces Command. You don't have that kind of thing in the past. But the turn of events in the fight against Boko Haram showed that the conventional way the soldiers were trained will not be able to address the problems on the ground. You need to train the soldiers in this special way of dealing with insurgency. So that's why the command was established. So I believe the Navy too has done some changes recently. The Air Force has done a lot of also changes to ensure that they inject some new units into the fold of the force to be able to accommodate changes not only in our own domain but internationally. So I feel the military is doing very well in terms of that, but there is always the constraint of funding. And funding is a central issue in any establishment. So with the limited resources, I believe the military is doing well and is coping very well. But like somebody highlighted, everybody is a reporter in this country. Yeah. And the military is fighting a war that is not conventional. It's asymmetric. It's not a war that you plan and go and attack enemy position, that you know it. There is no infrastructure that the military will plan and go and attack. They fight and leave the place. The bandits the military is dealing with in Zamfara and Benue and other north-central areas, these are not people that have places. They will gather now, go and cause havoc, and disappear and come and join the society. So by joining the society, where do you know them to be to go and attack? That's why it makes the work for the military very difficult to be proactive. Because you can be proactive if I know the location of the enemy. I can do Reiki, I can plan and go and attack him. But what if the enemy does not have anywhere you can go and get him? And when you least expect it, they will gather and then cause havoc and come back to the society and mingle with people. So I believe with the new changes the defense headquarters did with this Operation Sharendaji, realizing that they are dealing with a different situation. Right. So these changes, I hope, will be able to put the military on top of the situation.
All right, thank you. We have our very first caller on this program tonight, and this is coming in from Zamfara. Aminu, calling in from Zamfara. Hello, Aminu.
Good evening. It's Toba.
Right, good evening.
Hello. How was the day?
Good, go right ahead.
I'm greeting the members around the place, sir.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
I want to talk to them about this issue of insecurity that we have in Zamfara State. We have many bandits across the state trying to kidnap people, raping women. I want them, please, to come to our rescue in order to sustain this issue that we are on it. So we don't know whether the military people are doing something possible for us.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Straightforward. You've got a situation in Zamfara like so many other areas in the country. Today you wonder if there's any strategy or if the military is involved in doing anything about it. I think straight away that can be answered by our guests here tonight.
Yes, that's right. I've just finished talking about the Zamfara place. The operation was reviewed. Initially, it was not as large as it was. The command there was reorganized and reinforced, and it's a major general that is in charge now. Right. And the Air Force have just deployed some of their newly acquired platforms to support the army on the ground. And with this type of reorganization and the new equipment they are injecting into the operation, there will be changes. But people are very impatient because I've just mentioned that these bandits, they don't have a place where you could say it's their location that you can plan a war and take it to their location. But they live with the people. And then when they gather, cause the havoc, and they disperse. So reaction time is very poor because intelligence work mainly when you have a terrain to cover. Intelligence work mainly when there are indicators. And if these things are absent, it is difficult to foretell if something will happen.
All right. Okay. Well, there's still another call coming through. Let's take this one as well. Emeka, who's calling in from Owerri. Emeka, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello. Good
Yes,
evening.
go right ahead. Good evening.
My greetings to the panel. My question, what I want to say is the rate the military personnel are oppressing civilians in the southeast is uncalled for. The rate the military personnel are oppressing civilians in the southeast so much uncalled for. It's not good. You know, they will handle people anyhow. It's not fair. So what are we saying about it? Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Well, General.
Well, yes. Well, Emeka, I'd like to, first and foremost, thank you for the observation you've raised. But I'd like to also assure you that whatever the military is doing in the southeast is not to oppress the people. It's actually in the interest of the citizenry. But all I can perhaps counsel that you do at this stage is if you find what you observe to be untoward, to be unprofessional, I will request that you please go to any military formation and report to the commander on ground. And if you also have additional information regarding who perhaps have undertaken what you assess to be unprofessional, it will be good enough for you to report such an individual, and appropriate action will be taken. But let me assure you that the military of today, by all intents and purposes, all our operations are intended to give greater protection to the entire populace, not only in the southeast but across the length and breadth of the country. Perhaps, if I may, Cyril, to also add to what my co-panelist said regarding the situation in Zamfara. Aminu, I also like to, if you're still listening, to reassure you that what we are doing in Zamfara and the entire northwest geopolitical zone of the country is to address those security challenges. As rightly pointed out, before now you never had 8th Division in the northwest. It is because of the reassessment, the review of the situations that have enabled us to create an entire division. And a major general commands that division, but beyond just having a structure, we equally have reviewed the operation in that area, wherein he referred to as Operation Sharendaji, not only to cover Zamfara, but also to cover Kebbi, Sokoto, Katsina, and of course part of Kaduna and Niger State, because the situation, there is an overflow to those states that border Zamfara. We even have a collaboration with Nigerian forces. So that is the reason why, if you are a careful observer of the events, the activities of the military in that area, you will see that there is a cross-border patrol that we have, which is jointly conducted by not only the Nigerian military, but equally the armed forces of Niger. So please be rest assured that we are working assiduously to bring peace and security in a greater measure to Zamfara and environs. Thank you very much.
All right. Brigadier General Akpa.
Yes, sir.
A portion of the Nigerian anthem, the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. And even as we speak, there are new heroes on the block, those who are standing out there in harm's way so that the rest of the country can be protected from such harm. And with what is going on now, and if you recall the old saying, that once a soldier, always a soldier, like they say, old soldier never die. Right. What is the input of the Legion in all of this? You've been it. Yes, circumstances are different, but you still retain part of the zeal to help protect your country and uphold the security of your nation. What's the Legion's input in all of this?
Thank you very much for that question. And we're all in this thing together. First and foremost, the Legion and the fallen heroes and the Legion and the retirees are grateful for what the government is doing to address these issues, that particular portion of the national anthem. First and foremost, it is gratifying that your efforts are being appreciated. Within the Legion, fallen heroes, widows, dependents, in fact, everybody is connected. There's hardly any family in Nigeria that you don't have this mix. That's why I say we are all in it together. Yes, the authorities are doing their best. Heroes have come, some have gone, some are still here. What we are doing is that being appreciated, we also should give back to society. What do? We are affiliated to the World Veteran Federation and the Commonwealth, the group. As it is, the appreciation comes from the government, which is every 15th of January.
All right.
The serious efforts are made. In the past, it will wait until the next 15th January. But what the Legion is doing now, yes, thank you for appreciating us for what we have done. Everybody in Nigeria, every sector have contributed. Now that we have done this, we are not the dregs. We have plans. We talked about post-traumatic battles on stress. We have plans. That's the Nigerian Legion. Through the efforts of the world, let me put it, not just Nigeria, with their tokens here and there, to build such hospitals to complement what the federal government have all over the country. At least one in each of the 5 geopolitical zones, which will take care of such trauma. We have that. We plan to engage them. In fact, we are discussing with a lot of people in agriculture, agro-allied industry, in transportation, so that we don't just stay there to make the country spend on us so much. We should also give back. The widows of the fallen heroes, some of them are quite young. In fact, the last crash, helicopter crash, I think they were married for less than 1 month. And he's gone. Those people cannot be forgotten. Government cannot provide all this. That's why we are appealing to all people, every part of the country, those in diaspora, our affiliations in the world, United Kingdom, United States, Australia, France. We have the same mission to make sure that their labors will never be in vain. They will be remembered. There will be schools for their children, those they have left behind. There will be industry and other work for their families who they have left behind. So we are doing that. We have approached some state governments. We are discussing. For instance, well, I won't want to call the names now because some of the discussions are not conclusive.
Okay. Right.
So there are some states that have even earmarked about 10 kilometers square for us to build an estate. Estate that will encompass everything, including schools, hospitals, agriculture, so many things that we can do. And who are these people? They are all part and parcel of the society. That's why I said there's a connection. Take their children off the streets. A lot of people will not be going to Italy. They will remain here. Because if you go out there, there's no place like home. Let us continue to sing the Nigerian song for realizing that we have done what we have done and they have appreciated us.
Right.
It will boost our morale, and it will make us to give more. So those who have gone, old people like us, we have people, when they are involved in industries, transportation, air, land, and sea, you get a lot of people. There won't be a lot of people who want to go around as being touts or for the society.
Recruits for terrorist organizations. But Prof, all over the world, dealing with insurgency and terrorism has always been extremely difficult. And people who would say it's virtually impossible. Once you have tasted this, it's virtually impossible to wake up one day and say, look, there wouldn't be a single case of terrorism anywhere. Even as we speak, even in Kenya this evening, you've seen this happening. But the question here is, what drives people to go into it? Sometimes you have, even when you have used the military to suppress an insurgency or, put down terrorism, you have easy recruits. We hear of de-radicalization. And people really wonder, is it possible to change a mindset? Are we doing enough? Do we have the capacity?
I think taking the military effort, we must appreciate their peculiar circumstances. First, I think General Irabo mentioned the historical or maybe where we are coming from, where there are a lot of suspicion between citizens and the military because of the long period of military rule. But even beside that, also that we have a number of difficulties within which we expect the military to perform, even whether it's respect to insurgency, and I think that affects their capacity in relation to insurgency. First is, I think we have, if we look at our architecture, security architecture, I think there's a major problem where the civil police and the military, there is no intermediate force. Because in principles, you have the armed forces for external operations, while you have the others as internal. A situation where we converted our military to almost civil police, because many of the things we are expecting of them are actually conduct of civil police. Many of the accusations about improper behavior are the kind of things to which you socialize civil police and not the military. So you now have them, we are not an industrialized nation, so the weapon, almost everything they are using, including their canvas, are imported, which also meant that the government is constrained in providing for them. So there are all kinds of structural problems within which the military is operating. And in assessing them, we need to take not just the military as military, to situate them back and look at the kind of difficulties in the society as a whole. In terms of insurgency, I think you made the point in whether there is a day you can announce the end of insurgency. I think one of the problems we had was in communication, I think about 2 years ago, when I think a military terminology was used to address civilian audience, when they said Boko Haram had been the first one, it technically was a modification later.
We have
the original word was not degraded. And some of us were worried that that was a military language meant for the military. Where you say they are degraded, it means relative to us as armed forces, these are no longer threat to us. But they still constitute threat. And some of us were worried. We actually raised it with some other people. I said, well, for a citizen who is not knowledgeable in this area, he imagines that there will never be any activity ascribed to Boko Haram in the country. Unfortunately, that is this point where indeed they pose the greatest danger, because we've driven them away from their sanctuary and they are now scattered all over the place and can actually have multiple, attacks, which will make citizens afraid. So there are all those kinds of lack of experience, both in addressing the issue and even communicating them with respect to citizens, which of course creates cynicism about it. There is no way, I don't know of any country's history in which you have insurgency of Boko Haram magnitude, in which it disappears in 10 years after it's been degraded. Some will continue stubbornly holding to their ideology. They may continue to diminish. There are those who are no longer holding to their ideology, but they have also learned the criminality associated with it, which they also practice in other contexts. So it probably takes about a decade, even where you have effectively degraded them militarily, and you put in place social and economic responses to ensure that people don't get recruited as much as the insurgents who have wanted. This is a very complex situation. So that is the normal trend of insurgency, where you degrade them militarily, or even while you are doing that, you must have socio-economic policies that indeed is making it difficult for people to be attracted to those kind of way of thinking. In our particular problems, recruitment is possible because there are so many fault lines. And that is again what affects the military. Because whatever you do, Nigerians is not going to ask, why did you do it? Who did it? Where is he from? What does he believe? Not why did he do it? For what purpose? What is supposed to... We actually go back the other way. Who did it? Where does he come from? What will be his intention? So military also suffer from these divisions within the society. So my comment at this time to say is that let us not deceive ourselves. We have a lot of work to do, given the level of insurgency, criminality that is on. We need to go back, not as a piecemeal response, not Python dance, all those ones, they are helpful, but we must understand that these are just piecemeal approach. We really need a national security platform, well articulated, which include how do you prevent the reoccurrence or new cases? How do you use economic, social policy to ensure that this is reduced? And it's a complex situation, but it's something we need to do. Otherwise, we'll just be going through the cycle, if we are just trying to use the military option. And unfortunately, the military or the armed forces that will be victim. I don't know again a country in which you have insurgency, in which there is no likelihood of the forces, security forces, being accused of high-handedness. You remember even Britain. If you go to the US, during the civil rights movement, if you watch some of those films of Alabama, Mississippi, so once we're dealing with an internal insurgency, it's very, very difficult that indeed the expectation will be, in many ways not meet the standard required. And outsiders will probably look at it. I have been in a difficult zone. And when people say there is an excess, in the same moment, there are people who are saying not enough is done. I believe in just I've seen series of it. Why we say, where are these soldiers? Where are these policemen? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do this? On the other hand, people are saying they are doing too much in our community. So it's a difficult way to balance the multiple pressure, multiple demand that citizens in different situations in the same environment are actually making on the security forces.
Tough one, Prof. And even as you mentioned the question of criminality, the other aspect of this, I'm reminded of, quite recently of another aspect of it, which is scaremongering as well, when people move into a community and spread false rumors about an impending attack just to get the people to move, leave their homes, and then they move in and clear off their goods. And these are also issues that the military is forced to cope with. Right.
You're very right. Quite a huge challenge, very complex indeed. Where we find ourselves now, talking about the military, is such that everybody more or less look up to the military to bring peace, to bring normalcy to bear. But what a good number of the citizens have also forgotten is that in matters like this, it's actually a whole of government approach that is best suited for it. And that's the reason why at some point, every opportunity that we have, we try to educate the rest of society as to what part they need to play and why they must give due support to the military, and to also let them know that we are in this together. It's not just the military that should be seen to be doing something. You have a part to play. Organizations, including civil societies, have a part to play. But of course, that's a tough challenge. But whether it's a tough challenge does not imply that it's insurmountable. And that's the reason why perhaps I could also add my voice through this platform to tell the rest of the society that there is something that they can do by way of contributing to ensuring that not only is the war against insurgency and terrorism in the Northeast is effective, but also that other parts of the country wherein military operations are going on, you have a part to play, and that part is what is required to be able to make impact.
Right. Well, as we go on with this discussion, most probably in the second segment of this, we'll be looking at what the citizens have to contribute to the efforts of the military, the support of the civil populace, we'll look at that, and we will also consider the professionalism of the military, the training, and other actions which all have bearing on the military and the state of security in the nation. But that will come in the second segment of this discussion. You're still on to NT Tuesday Live. We'll take a break here. When we return, we'll look at other options. Stay with us.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose, with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
All right. Thanks for staying with us. Security matters are very sensitive matters, and even behind the scenes there, the discussions are still going on. But as we usually do, we went out to speak to the citizens. Let's get to see what they think.
Symbolizes a day that the armed forces have set aside to celebrate and to remember the efforts of the fallen heroes, that is the ones that gave up their lives for our unity, our peace, and whatever we enjoy today. That is what it means.
I personally believe there's need for us to have a kind of foundation whereby government can actually be able to put more support, just apart from just the normal payoff benefits that give to them, and that's the end of it, and they're forgotten. So it is something that needs to be more concrete in terms of providing foundation that can really be more enduring in terms of training the children, in terms of providing the upkeep of the family, the wife, and so that they don't feel much about the vacuum created by the loss of their husbands or their ones.
First of all, considered the children of our foreign heroes who died in the course of keeping this nation together. So government should consider them by giving their children scholarship to study either abroad or in Nigeria. And when they finish the school, they should choose the organization of their choice to work.
As citizens, I mean, if we know that, oh, this is a widow of so-and-so soldier, in our own little ways, whatever we can do, it is very good to be useful to those that they've left behind. It's wrong, I mean, that we all just forget the service that this not only armed forces, even also we have policemen that die on duty. All those people that die while serving us, we should have a way of taking care of the people they left behind.
It's a very significant day because it's not everyone that will be willing to put down their lives for this purpose. So it's something that we should take and we should always remember them, and not just remember them, put them in prayers, and also see how we can assist their families too.
Nigerians, speaking about Armed Forces Day and Armed Forces and Remembrance Day, also airing their views about how best to acknowledge the sacrifices of fallen heroes. Back here in the studio, unfortunately with the security situation in the country, so many times Nigerians have had to comment on what they see as the professionalism or otherwise of the military, and this has generated public debate. And sometimes you do hear people say, Nigerian military, are they really equipped to carry out this fight against insurgency and terrorism? Do they have the necessary modern know-how, technology, and skills, and are they equipped? Are they well trained? Let's start with you, General Rabo, as Chief of Defense Training and Operations.
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, every armed force, and very specifically Nigerian Armed Forces, as enshrined in the Constitution, has a mandate. And that mandate also requires that they be not only trained, but also be equipped to be able to deliver the responsibility as enshrined in the Constitution. Currently, of course, we are equipped to fight and to defeat the insurgency and terrorism as we have it in the Northeast. But that does not imply that we do not have any challenge at all. There is no army anywhere in the world that has all that it requires at any given time. And you probably know that with the kind of intensity of the operation, that resources, of course, sometimes also fall as casualties, if I may use that expression in quotes. Casualties in the sense that you have the equipment resources, you equally have even the manpower to which this day has been dedicated, that a good number of our colleagues not only have they paid the supreme price, a good number have also been wounded, have been wounded in the course of this war. So because of that, you realize that sometimes there is, not just sometimes, all the time, there's a depreciation in terms of the resources that you have. So to that extent, it's necessary for us to keep reviewing whatever the resourcing for the war is, and then making plan and of course engaging all organs of government to understand the requirement for them to be able to take necessary decisions that will enable us to close up the gaps that exist. So this is the reason why I also believe that everyone, both the government, the three arms of government, and equally the civil society, need to be brought on board by way of understanding issues that have to do with defense and security, issues that have to do with war fighting. Nations go to war. It's not just the military that go to war. The entire resources, that is the entire organs of the machinery of governance, is what is employed in war fighting. That the citizens themselves also need to give themselves up, need to get engaged in issues in matters of war fighting. It's only when that is done that, of course, that you find the appropriate support being given to the military. And of course, if there are other lines of operation, which in this case there are, even though they are not as active as the military line of operation, then of course, if we aggregate these various components, then we'll be seeing a progressive outcome of the operations that we engage in.
Let me just dwell a little bit more on training. And so many times you hear popular opinion, people advancing, just like you yourself alluded to the fact that like in journalism today, everyone, trained or not trained, becomes a reporter. You do have people who suddenly, because of the situation, have become security analysts and commentators and things like that. And you do hear popular opinion from time to time saying, oh, what is the recruitment strategy? People are just picked up now, and with little or no training, they're shipped up to, the front, and there they can't perform. Is there any truth in that? That, not enough training is given to newly recruited soldiers?
Well, talk is cheap. People are entitled to their opinions. But you see, for us in the military, it's not done anywhere that you just get someone out from the street and then you take him to the war front. There is a time for training. Apart from the initial training that we have, there are skill sets that you need to, that must be imparted, on the personnel before you deploy them into the field. You see, across the services, Army, Navy, and the Air Force, there is an initial training. Besides the officers, the men themselves, there's an initial training. Thereafter, there are follow-on training. There are different courses which we get engaged in. You see, not until we are done with this problem, these allusions, these concoctions, we keep pouring in. And I think that we can only keep reassuring the public that we are training, not just training, but we are training professionally to address the issue. We are reviewing our procedures and we are adapting our trainings to suit the current threats that we find.
All right. Back to the phones now. We have a caller from Delta. Greg calling in from Delta. Hello.
Please, without being the other side or this other side, even if it doesn't favor you, but the security of this country must be
Greg.
well respected, and everyone should adhere to it.
Hello, Greg. Are you there? We did say turn down the volume of your TV set.
Any time we succeed, you should be held responsible for it.
Anyhow, I think we'll just have to move on, and perhaps Greg will call back later on. Well, ABM Lar, sadly, of course, in situations like this, you've had incidences of friendly fire. We've also had losses in terms of, apart from personnel, also of equipment. And again, these incidences have led people to, again, question if these were accidents, purely as accidents, or were the result of inadequacies in operational strategies and things like that. What's your response to that?
Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, let me say that sometimes when you read comments or you listen to some commentaries that are made about the war against insurgency, there's the tendency to think that it is the military versus Nigerians, not actually Nigeria fighting a common enemy. And I think that is why we keep getting some of these narratives that do not have that are not based on facts. Like General Rabo said, for us in the Air Force, well, this particular administration, the vision of the Chief of the Air Staff is centered around professionalism, making the Nigerian Air Force to be a highly professional and disciplined force. And one of the pillars is capacity development. And I want to say that you cannot give someone a job to do that he's not equipped to do, particularly for a service like the Nigerian Air Force that is very technical. So we like Rabo said, we have the initial training where you are trained. If you come in as an enlisted personnel, that's another rank. You have the basic training. Then you have other trainings that will now isolate you and give you a specialization. So, for example, those who are regiment, they go for regiment training. And in the last 3.5 years, we've trained over 2,500 regiment personnel, with about 750 of them trained as special forces in cooperation with some of our foreign partners, the British Military Advisory Team. And we've trained special forces in countries outside Nigeria. We've had training from Americans, from the Israelis, and so many other countries that have comparative advantage as far as some of these things are concerned. So that tells you that the Air Force, we are not leaving anything, any stone unturned to ensure that people are well prepared to be able to survive when they are deployed to the battlefront. And that's why today we have over about 300 special forces fighting in the northwest and about the same number in the north central, and quite a few of them also fighting with the ground forces in the northeast. And then, of course, you know that recently, I think we've acquired the trainer aircraft, about 10 Super Mushak, and also helicopters to beef up our attack capabilities. Brand new Mi-35M helicopters, about 4 of them. So I think that as we are acquiring more equipment, more platforms, we are also providing people with the requisite training to be able to better perform their responsibilities. As I speak to you, we have people training in South Africa, in Jordan, in America, and so many other countries across the world. The reason being that we want them to come back well prepared to be able to discharge their duties without, with minimum safety issues. We actually also have an Institute of Safety in Kaduna, where we train every specialization, even those who are medical, those who are pilots, those who are engineers. They go there for safety training. Why? Because safety is very critical to the operations of the Nigerian Air Force. So all of these things are being done to ensure that when you deploy someone to go and perform a task, he has the requisite knowledge to be able to perform that task and perform it efficiently and effectively. So I think, like a rapport said, those who don't have the facts, they can easily cross-check these facts, because the Air Force, we are very open. We always try to engage the public so that they know exactly where we are at all times in terms of training, in terms of the current campaign in the Northeast and in other parts of the country. We are very open. We tell the Nigerians the truth. And if we have challenges, we are also bold to tell the public that we have challenges, so that, of course, if you don't shout out, people will not know that you have challenges. So we have nothing to hide. Our personnel are well trained, and they have what it takes to be able to perform the roles assigned to them.
But the reality is that in a war, casualties will occur.
No, I mean, certainly, but for us, when casualties occur, when we look around and we see that we've done everything humanly possible to prevent such occurrences, you have some level of satisfaction, even though it is sad. You know, the thing is, I went through the military school, and I remember that as young as I was at that time, my father was required to give approval that if anything happens to me, the army will not be held responsible. That means you've decided that you are going to lay down your life when you set out to come and join the military. So like Prof said, it is part of the job specification. However, that does not mean that we are careless about the lives of our personnel. And that is why if we lose a single personnel, it hurts deeply. And we show it in our men, in the way we behave, that we cherish every single airman that is lost, even if it is through natural causes, not to talk of those that die in the line of duty. There are quite a lot of things that some of the commentators have said about the need for scholarships and so on for the children of those who die in the line of duty. But these things are already captured in our terms and conditions of service, and these are things that are routine, that we do all the time. So it's not something that we are just thinking about. Incidentally, as the Chief of Administration, my office deals with such issues. So I can tell Nigerians that for every single airman that dies, we convene something known as a board of adjustment. And that board of adjustment is to determine the cause of death and to declare whether it was natural causes, whether it was during in the line of duty, and so on and so forth, because that is the document that now tells the next of kin that these are the assets, these are the liabilities of your parent that died in the course of duty. So we are very, very concerned about every single personnel of the Nigerian Air Force, and we don't take their safety and ability to survive lightly.
Let's go on to the other aspect that's worrisome, the question of intelligence. And you do hear people talk about where there's not enough intelligence gathering, and before anything happens, there ought to be. How well are we doing in this in this area?
Well, with regards to intelligence gathering in the war against insurgency, we are not doing badly. The problem is not lack of intelligence. I don't think that is the problem of the Nigerian troops. The problem may come due to maybe poor deployment, sometimes problems with the junior commanders. But intelligence is something that is utmost. There is no military commander that will embark on any attack without having necessary information or intelligence regarding his route to the enemy, the location of the enemy, the disposition of the enemy, their strength, their weapons, everything. There's no military commander today that will wake up and go into this type of operation without intelligence. So the problem is actually sometimes because the insurgents are not conventional troops. In the military, you have this RPG, record prepared grenade. It's a platoon weapon. You have about 38 to 40 people in the military organization to have that one RPG. But in one gun truck, you can have 3 RPGs. And when they attack with these RPGs. And it's very difficult for troops that is used to conventional fighting to respond to that kind of firepower. So the intelligence that is required is supposed to be such that the route is well checked to ensure that IEDs are not hidden, to ensure that no coup-de-main forces hanging around. And the sources that the troops use is mainly the locals. Because these locals who live around tells you a lot about activities that is happening en route. They also tell you about the locations and so on. And there are also security platforms which is supporting the fight against Boko Haram. With our development partners and with our own capabilities. There are also capabilities in some of the intelligence outfit. So effort to gather intelligence is being given prominence in the military. Currently, I know there are a lot of training opportunities that were sought for, and the troops were sent for training of how to gather intelligence in the best possible way. Because technical intel is what is in the main. The Air Force is helping in this area with their sorties. They have their reconnaissance platforms that also fly to get information. So I do not want to believe that intelligence is the problem in this fight against insurgency.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go back to the phones briefly. We have Ada calling in from Jos. Hello, Ada.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go right ahead, Ada.
Yes. Ada calling from Jos. In my opinion, I feel that insurgency cannot only be fought by use of guns. The issue of addressing it from a socioeconomic viewpoint is also important. For instance, addressing issues of poverty, unemployment, and so on. Because it is disheartening when we hear that even the people in that environment, the insurgents, they are able to give them some money and all that, and then recruit them, especially the youth that are idle. You know, we've had such instances, even in recent times. Sometimes they even recruit them to help them get food for them and fuel and what have you. So it's not just about the guns. And then again, as much as our soldiers, our armed forces, they have signed out, that their lives is in their own hands. If they die, it's not the responsibility of the Nigerian government. But they should also be secured. You know, so all these operations, Python dance, operation this and all that, I think they should have an operation, secure the army first. I feel saddened when we have so many of them dying in one swoop. I mean, it's not really fair. And then I must praise them. I give kudos to them. They put in their best as much as they can, despite all odds. Most times, those you engage in talking on the television, they cannot come down and start saying that they are not well equipped. But they themselves, the army, the foot soldiers, they used to say it. They used to tell us that they are not well equipped. I don't know why sometimes when some of the people you engage there, they come there and start telling us that they are well equipped. So all I'm trying to say here is that it's not a question of living in denial. Let them do what they can do to make sure that these soldiers are well equipped, so that they don't lose their lives just like that, like chickens. So having said that, I must say kudos to them. And the emblem day, I feel that this emblem thing, even in the mosques and churches, those emblems should be sold there too, so that individuals can also participate. And then those proceeds to be used to take care of the families of the fallen heroes. I feel sad when I see from widows after a year or two, they'll be lamenting on the television that they can't fend for their children. They don't even have a roof over their head. So I don't know. I just hope one day, one day, we'll get there. Let it not just be a mere ritual. God bless Nigeria. God bless the armed forces. That's what I take this evening.
Thank you very much, Ada. And perhaps Brigadier General Akpa would respond to some of the issues that Ada just raised there. And after that, we'll still return to General Jibrin on the matter of intelligence gathering. Yes.
Thank you very much. She said so many things that were real. Let me first touch on the issue of training. In the military, even from the day of your exam to become an officer or to become a soldier, the training continues. I think that's one area that the training is continuous and it addresses so many things. So it's no lack of training. One or two things could happen. It's not everybody that's of the same standard. So they are training. The intelligence is there, and the intelligence evolves as the situation changes. The nature of the war now, like I said, somebody who is the enemy in the night, in the afternoon is sleeping with you. So it makes it difficult. And they are addressing it in different ways. Like you said, training has continued in different parts to address as they evolve. That one is there. Touching on my side now, the religion has been in existence in Nigeria since 1962. That's the Act of Parliament that brought it forward. And it's been on and on and on. For the fact that they existed, that is still existing up to now, that means they have done well. But this new platform that we're on now, we want to take it beyond that level so that we can address some of the issues, hunger, like we're talking about, lack of education, neglect. Those things are being put together with partners. Like I said, government cannot do it alone. Foreign partners, Nigerian partners. We have a lot of well-meaning Nigerians. From the discussion we have on the network, you could see that everybody is becoming much more aware the issues surrounding and resulting in what we have. Neglect of society or forgetting the widows. First and foremost, we now have a database to find out where every retiree is. And that's why we are saying, you must get to us. If I may have your permission, I want to say that we have a network, a website which you can give to everybody now. You can stay at the comfort of your house and communicate with the Legion. If you don't know where you are, it's difficult to attend to your issues. So I want to say that there is a website, Nigerian Legion website, www.veteransfednigeria.gov.ng. www.veteransfednigeria.gov.ng. And we also have established some few lines which I will give to you to share with the whole of us. Tell us where you are. Tell us your state, your status. Are you a completely finished person? Well, nobody is completely finished because there is hope. How bad are you? There are a lot of veterans who are doing well. We are partnering with them to multiply their value.
Okay.
All right, and there are some people that we know we must help. There are some that don't have accommodation at all, and that's why I say we have this program. The government is helping. The state governments just avail us the land so that we can develop this estates that will accommodate your people, your children, the widows, those who are incapacitated. Some people cannot even help themselves. There are some, like when you grow old, some people even become worse than children. Some are on Pampers. You have to take care of these people. Those ones cannot even live on their own. Because if you leave them with their people, back home, some of them say, I beg, when you were there, say, what did you do for us? We want people to disabuse their minds from such things.
Okay.
Accept them.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, let's quickly return to the issue of intelligence gathering and put this. How much support do you think the civil populace gives to the military in terms of intelligence, and how much support do you think the military gets from the civil
I think particularly in the Northeast, you know, there are categories of people that can help. You know, the so-called civilian JTF, they are civilians, but they took up arms, moved by their desire to protect their land and to support the military in the fight. They are doing very well in helping. You know, some of these things are not things actually you discuss on the air, because there are things that, you know, the enemy is also listening. But I want to assure you that the general public is doing it best, especially those in the Northeast. They are helping in giving the troops tidbits about happenings around their area. But like somebody who phoned in call that some of these insurgents, particularly this Islamic State of West Africa, they have their own way. Whenever they occupy a place, no matter how temporary, they try to touch the lives of those civilians, that they don't harass them like Boko Haram. They don't harass them. They try to give them food. They try to give them things. They try to give them protection. So, you know, that way they are buying them, so to say. But I know that a lot of programs the Army is doing what they tag winning the hearts and mind. And then they try to help the civil population that they operate in their area in terms of giving them free medical care, sinking boreholes for them, providing them with some essentials, you know. And this is enticing the public and endearing the public to the military. So they give a lot of information to the troops, and it's helping the troops to deal with the situation. Now, there also is a double-edged thing, because some of them are double agents, because they actually go out of their way, because they could reach the location of the insurgents without any problem. They can give them information for the protection of their places and some pecuniary benefits they drive, and then come and tell the army something else. So they do double agent, and it is difficult as an intelligence operative and as intelligence agent to say you will run away from that. We also have problems of mules, bad guys within the troops. You cannot rule out that for a fact, that some of the bad eggs are still even among us, you know. And to be able to benefit from the public input in terms of intelligence gathering, you must have to try as much as possible to provide protection for these people. So sometimes, because of the vicissitude of war, things change. You find out the military in some places where they had problems. Immediately the soldiers leave the place and these people come. From their booties and so on, they try to reach out to those people. And they easily sway their loyalty because what they want is something they can personally also benefit. Okay. But there is need to up the technical intelligence effort of the military. I know a lot is being done at various levels, but there is really need to up it. Another area is training. There is effort to reorganize training, to reorganize some of the training institutions. To my knowledge, there is a deliberate effort to reorganize and re-equip some of the intelligence training schools. So we have to do more in that direction so that when you churn out well-trained intelligence officers, the operation commander is to his delight because they will come out and do exactly what is expected of them. So on the whole, I can say the public is helping. But there are certain things we cannot say because it's not good for the troops.
Okay. Quickly back to the phones now. We have Yahya calling in from Niger. Hello, Yahya.
They need
Yahya, you're on.
to change at every time. They should not stay long. Because immediately somebody...
All right, I think we'll just have to go on because we do have limited time left. And talking about certain issues which you might not raise in the public because they're very sensitive security matters. That brings us to next area with Prof. What should be the responsibility of the citizen and the kind of support that the citizen should give the military, specifically in this situation that we are in? And I'm looking at it from so many angles: the civil society, the general public, the media. What kind of support? We witnessed a recent event that was a tense situation. Sometimes you pick up newspapers, you read Nigerian troops have been subdued. You read such things in the media, you hear Nigerian troops on the run, overrun totally by Boko Haram. What should be the responsibility of the citizens in a situation like this?
I think in recent time, unfortunately, I don't know how we got there. There seems to be this excitement when something is wrong or there's misfortune befall the country. People actually feel excited. Either there are publications by international organizations that we are not doing well. People get excited about it. Didn't we tell you? And I wonder, what is the sense of patriotism? It's good to be critical, but when you are cynical, I think it becomes a problem. So I think the thing to start is we must find a way of developing what I would call responsible citizenship. People said it's because we need civic education, you need those ones. But I think basically we've lost it in terms of attachment to our country. If you ask many young people, or even maybe, even not too young, their allegiance mentally is to other countries. It's mentally to other countries. And I think that is the first thing. We need a reorientation about what is called citizenship, and then begin to reorient people about patriotism. I think that is starting. But if you don't do that, people will not make their contribution. I think there is this. People will give different explanation why that is the case. But I think, unfortunately, we actually believe that running down our country makes us, as individuals, doing the running down superior to other members of our society. I had a teacher in primary school. Two of them were friends, and the one used to say, "Oh, it's like I'm the greatest in my village." One day they fought, And the other one said, if you were the greatest in your village, that must be a miserable village. And I'm sure sometimes when we run down our country, we don't know that the outsiders whom we want to impress will one day look down and say, look, this is a miserable person in his country. So I think we need to reconfigure, redevelop this good citizenship. Having done that, again, is when we talk about the military, under a democratic system, we are very quick to talk about military subordination, civilian oversight, but where is the capacity for the oversight? Who is guiding the military? How much knowledge exists in the legislature even to provide direction for the military? The Constitution is section 217, actually obliged the nation. That's the only agency I note in the Constitution. Say the country is obliged to equip the military. It puts it as an obligation there. What is the knowledge in the legislature? What those things I need to do? So there is also the lack of political leadership. So I think if we start from that, I think the political leadership, whether at the executive or at the judicial or at the legislative level, need to develop a new understanding of security as the basis for national development. If they develop that, also to develop the skill to be able to govern security. That means to be able to manage security, which means understanding in a strategic way what are the security threats to the country in a decade from now. What kind of measures need to be taken to ensure that those kind of strategic decision making ensure that those threats do not occur. So that again at the political level. You come to the media. I think it's summarized already. Like most of our institutions, I'm from the university. Universities are also as dysfunctional as it can be. I think our institutions are really dysfunctional. So I think the media also, in terms of training, there is a sense in which negativity sells. And so people believe that if you bring out something negative about the country, you're actually the one that to be worshipped, to become popular. And I think that's what we also need to do. And I think that's because also the professionalism in the media is also in crisis. And I'm sure media practitioners themselves have admitted, they've tried to do a few things about it. But you go to any function in Abuja here, 50% of the people who are there, if you screen them very well, do not belong to any media house. So there are just so many challenges, and these are the ones who will twist Twitter and all this information.
Particularly now that just about everyone with a smartphone.
Yes, so we really need reorientation. We really need political authority to come and build more trust between citizenship and then be reorienting citizens about what it means to be responsible citizen and then to be patriotic citizen. Just to comment on General Jibril intelligence, I think he's right. My worry with our security forces is there is the tendency to emphasize the human requirement without a mix of technology. And modern policing, modern security management is about technology. I give you an example. When you are talking about insecurity in Nigeria, the first application you are going to get is the police will say, we need 15,000 personnel. Where is going to be the technology mix? You put a police vehicle, less than a kilometer there's another vehicle. There is no intravehicular communication. It's as wasteful as anything. It's wasteful as anything. So we're still using the... I listened to General Agwe in one of the earlier, he was talking about third generation security provisioning and fourth generation. We're still using hunting methodology to secure in a decade in which, of course, we are in technological age. So while I agree that they may have all the resources, but I think those resources are not smart enough. And we need to begin to move into smart technology. And it's not just about the military. Do we have a national identity when a crisis situation can be used by the military for better protection? These things start from, things as simple as that. We have I think there are 5 giant telecommunications. Do we have a national helpline Why is it so difficult to ask MTN, Glo, to provide a 3-digit across the country that function for many purposes? Is that not just a simple decision to be taken? So I think the political leadership is very critical to drive security. Military is an institution, but is subject to political leadership. And I think that's where we can begin to build the trust and then be going to quickly give direction to the military and other security forces and adequately equip them.
Right. General, you'd like to comment on this?
Yes, thank you very much. I cannot agree more with Prof. in the area of applying technology as a mix and the right technology to complement whatever we're doing on the kinetic aspect of this war. But in doing so, one must also take cognizance of our local environment. Technology, as essential as it is, a greater part of what we require is not localized. There's no local production, and because there is no local production, there are also international dimensions to it by way of interest. I mean, war economy, if we may want to discuss that as an aspect, you realize that it's something that is critical. So to what extent will the owner of the technology be willing to come to your aid, even when you have the cash? What are his thoughts? What does he see you to be someone who is a friend, or is he a foe? In fact, a wolf in sheep clothing. Or does he really desire that your foreign policy pronouncement is he ready to give effect so that you're able to implement whatever your desires are? So because of that angle, I would want to encourage that we do everything possible to begin to localize some of our technological innovations. There is no nation that can ever make it, not just in terms of security and defense and security matters, but as well as other sectors, without having technological development locally. Some of the equipment that a good number of us have alluded to that we require as part of the challenges that you may have also read about. How many of these equipment do we produce locally? So even when we talk about resourcing for it, yes, you also talked about education by way of those political education with respect to vis-a-vis defense and security issues. If you want to provide, provision for the requirements of the military, will you be able to convince the rest of the society that, look, the military requires extra in terms of budget to be able to meet their needs when other part of the economy needs to be serviced? So these are the interrelated issues which we must put in context whenever we talk about technology.
All right, we're getting to the last bit of this program. So, General Rabo, there are two issues I'd like to raise, and I think we'll have enough time for all the guests here to comment briefly on them. But for you superintended over the theater of war at some point in time, and so it's relevant to ask you this. What is the kind of relationship you envisage between the military and the civil populace, especially in terms of communication? Remember, I'm saying this with a recent incident in mind, the friction between the military and the media.
Well, what I would say to that is that there is need for continuous education. Trust is very critical. Trust is built over time. It's communication that will bring about greater trust. Education brings about greater trust. Education helps you to optimize the available information and understand the correct interpretation of the information that is available, and so that you'll be able to win the trust of those you are partnering with. In this case, it's not just the military requiring the trust of the civil populace. The civil populace also need to, they require our trust. For example, if an organization says that they are working in my interest, I should be able to believe them. It must be that pronouncement. There must be it must be transparent. It must be such that there is no ambiguity. I must see through the letters of the pronouncement. So I'm saying that trust is critical, education is critical, communication, continuous communication is very critical in this regard.
And then quickly, believe it or not, there are conspiracy theories around there that say, well, there are people, military personnel and the civil populace, who don't want this war to end because they are benefiting from it. How do you respond to that?
Well, yes, of course, there will be. I want to say that, you see, again, in crisis situation, there are those who want to profit from it. But that you have, the war economy as a key component of the factors that needed to be considered does not imply that you do not have those who genuinely are looking forward to the end of this crisis that we have. I'm not deterred by those who want to profit from the situation, but I rather want to deal with those who are genuine, and we can easily know those who want to profit and those who actually are genuinely in meeting the objectives for which they were purchased.
I think you've already said it. The truth is, even from some of the things we read online and in some of the other sources that are out there in the public, you will see that some of the reportings appear to be, there are undertones that you can clearly see that these are not facts. But like someone said before, it's as if we are celebrating setbacks that will hurt us as a nation. I think, like I said before, it is not the military versus Nigerians. It is Nigerians versus those who do not want us to have peace in our country. If we have that mindset, we will all join hands together to work for the success of the country so that we can defeat the common enemy that is preventing our children, our siblings, our husbands and wives from coming home to come and spend time with their loved ones. Like it was said here, one of the pilots we just lost was married. In fact, the day he was buried was 8th of January. That was exactly 1 month from the day he got married, 8th of December. So why would someone want to prolong a war that is causing so much anguish for the loved ones of somebody? So I think that it is fifth columnists, if I may use that word, those who do not have good intentions for the country that are pushing that agenda.
Right. General Jibril?
For me, you mentioned recent friction between the press and the military. When you look at pages of paper, you see projected military operation plans. You begin to read what the military is thinking, what the military is doing on pages of paper. It's frightening. And I believe that this recent friction took root from there. Because if you ask the army, they would tell you that some of their projected plans came out on pages of paper with details, locations, distance and movement and so on. So I know Rabo said there is need for continuing education. Maybe if the reporter knew the implication of his action, probably he will not go ahead and publish that kind of thing. Then regarding military feeding fat on the war, not wanting it to finish, I think, if you ask me, I think they are the NGOs. The NGOs, the so-called NGOs, both local and international, they are feeding fat on what is happening at the particularly Northeast, because they get a lot of resources with which they use to represent their organizations and to make their reporting. So they are the ones that are actually benefiting. But I don't think there is any military commander today that will not be so happy if tomorrow they will say this war ended. You often hear some of junior officers even avoiding to go to the front. So nobody wants the war to continue beyond where it is. So if anybody is benefiting, I believe some of the NGOs.
Right. So, Brigadier General, final word in the last few minutes we have on this program now.
Thank you very much for this program, and it is through this very media that the people should be educated. Let all of us put our hands together. Nobody will benefit by prolonging the war. It is hurting all of us, no matter who. So continue with education, and we are happy that the public is rising to the occasion. See some of the comments that came from the this team testifies to that. So let us continue and be together so that the war will end, or the insurgency will end, at least be reduced.
Right, and Prof, as you speak for us.
Yes, I think my quick recommendations, we need to recognize that using our military the way we are using is not sustainable. The earlier we can get them back to the barrack to do their traditional function, the better for us. Therefore, what kind of architecture can we have to be safe without using the military all the time? We should begin to think very seriously. Do we need an intermediate force between with a level of force greater than the police, but not as high as the military? And that's something we need to think very seriously. The other thing we need to do is what is happening to Defense Industry Corporation in Kaduna. When are we going to develop, responding to General Irabo, develop our own military industrial complex in Nigeria? I think this is something we need to do. Air Force is doing some good work in the Air Force Institute in Kaduna. We need more of those kind of collaboration to be able to develop capacity, because let's not deceive ourselves, Boko Haram is not going to be, it's a trend that is going on that we must also be prepared for. If we think all we need to do is to defend, once we defeat Boko Haram, we will be safe forever. We're already having Zamfara is on the upscale, Sokoto is in the upscale, we don't know where it will emerge, so it's better for us to develop capacity that can mitigate any threat in the long run. And I think starting with recapturing the vision in establishing Defense Industry Corporation, linking them with research, appropriate research, technological institutions with the country will be one way to start.
Right, and it is on that note we'll have to leave this conversation and say thank you to you gentlemen, General Lucky Rabo, AVM Kingsley Lar, General Ahmed Tijani Jibrin, Brigadier General Jones Akwa, and Professor A. Tanibi Alimika. We thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you too for being part of this program. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.